From the spellbinding Warner Brothers Studio Tour London, the making of Harry Potter, to schools all around the country. We're exploring the magic of filmmaking and the people who make it with BBC Teach and the Wizarding World. Get ready to journey from story to screen with Making the Magic.
Hello and welcome to our very special BBC Teach show in partnership with the Wizarding World, Making the Magic from story to screen.
Oh, we are so excited because we're here in Hogwarts Great Hall exploring the wonderful world of Harry Potter, Newt Scamander and their friends, and we're going to be looking at some of the key roles that help to make movie magic come to life.
So you might already know that films have producers, people who oversee the film production and tie everything together. And then there's directors, the people who literally call the shots. But there are hundreds of creative roles out there that many of you don't know about, and we want to shine a spotlight on them. We've got the amazing opportunity to meet some of the faces behind the films and find out a little bit more about what they do. And we want you to pay attention. You should all have an activity sheet to hand with the job roles that we're looking at today on them.
Yes, we want you to really get involved with this, and for your very first quickfire activity, we want you to jot down in the spaces provided on your sheets what you think those people do based on their job titles. Now, here in the studio, we're going to give you a 30-second countdown, but your teachers, if they're nice teachers, might choose to give you a little bit more time here by pausing the video. Okay, is everybody ready? Get set, go!
And your time is up. So what do you think these people do? Katie?
Well, we've got some thoughts out here in our Harry Potter style audience. Isha, what do you think they might do?
I think a costume designer is someone who designs costumes and possibly props for films and TV series.
I think that's a very good theory. You're barking up the right tree there, I think, Isha. Zaina, what about you?
I think that graphic designers design graphics such as background images in TV shows and movies.
Okay, some very good ideas. I'm looking forward to finding out if you guys are right a little bit later on when we actually meet some of the people who do these jobs.
But first, if you're watching us in your classrooms, we want to hear from you. We have a live commentary page here on the BBC Teach website, and we'll be updating it throughout the day with comments and ideas that you're sending in. So whenever you might be watching this, you can join in live over there.
And lots of you have already been in touch. So if you have, you might see your name on the bottom of the screen now, which is exciting, isn't it? And if you haven't, I'm going to tell you how you can get involved. But to do that, I'm going to, for no reason at all, put these Harry Potter style glasses on and read from a Harry Potter style book and tell you the information you need. Okay, send in your pictures, answers and comments to teach.bbc@bbc.co.uk or tweet us at bbc_teach, or you can use the hashtag BBC Making the Magic, and you could see your name or your school's name on our live commentary page, which would be well exciting. And if you're sending in pictures of children, please remember to confirm in the email that you are the teacher of the children featured and that you have parental consent.
So I hope you got all of that. Whilst you're sending us those messages, because we know you're doing that right now, we're sending Katie on a mission deeper into the studios with a little bit of help. It's some movie magic.
And help from Sarah as well. Thank you very much, Sarah. I'll give you these specs as well. I have got an invisibility cloak here. Can you believe it? How exciting is that for a Harry Potter fan, eh? So I'm going to put this on and I'm just going to be invisible. I'm going to disappear. You won't know where I am. You ready?
Will you just look at that?
In 2001, almost 2 whole decades ago, the boy wizard Harry Potter first hit our screens. From iconic sets to instantly recognisable costumes, from A-list stars to magical beasts, the Wizarding World now boasts films, video games, exhibitions, toys, a stage play, visitor attractions like this one, and even theme parks. And it all began with this one book. J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. But what happens next? How do you take these words, these descriptions, and turn them into a blockbuster film? Some people think of a film as just the vision of the director or the performance of the actors, but everything that is captured by a camera is designed to be seen. The art department designs and creates concepts for everything, from the set to the props, which are then physically made by large teams, from prop making to construction and more. One team is the graphic design team, and they have a very particular role to play. Take a look around your classroom right now. There might be some books, some labels, maybe a poster on the wall. Have a think about those items and try and picture them in a world like this. You can't imagine it, can you? They don't belong in this world. And it's somebody's job, a very important one, to create designs like this, specifically for worlds like this.
And we're going to meet someone who does just that today. Alongside her business partner, Eduardo Lima, she's made history with her designs, crafting everything from the Daily Prophet to Marauder's map. It's the amazing Mirafora Mina. It's lovely to meet you. Mirafora, it's so lovely to have you here. I know you've worked on so much stuff. It's not an exaggeration to call you a legend. So tell me, when it comes to the Harry Potter films and Fantastic Beasts, what is different about those films?
With Harry Potter, there were so many key props that had to be designed to tell the story. And it was like a gift, really, for us as designers to imagine what J.K. Rowling had written in a few words.
I know right at the start of the show, we asked our audience what they thought a graphic designer did. And now, you watching here and in your classrooms, we want you to listen carefully and jot down on your activity sheets what being a graphic designer on a film is really about. Mirafora, can you tell us, what is being a graphic designer? What do you do on a day-to-day?
We're big forgers of the real world. It's our job to put really the top layer of detail on top of the amazing sets that have already been designed and made, so that we can help the audience believe in that moment or that character or the situation. And that can be anything from a choice of typography to how we've aged something, because we have to design and make and age everything so that we deliver to the set a completely finished piece. The most important thing is that the audience can believe straight away that that object belongs to that character and that it assists the story in moving along.
I know it's super creative, but what is the process when you get the words, you get a book, you get the words of J.K. Rowling, turning that into something visual? What is the process?
Really, you have to remove yourself from being a designer and think, well, what would that character, how would Snape write if he's writing the notes in the potion book? What do the Marauders, how would they communicate their creative genius in a map, in a magical map? How would the Weasleys sell a lot of product in their shop? They're not designers, so you have to kind of go a little bit, we kind of call it method designing, because it's kind of going into the character a little bit. And
method designing. So if you were looking for someone from our audience today, for example, to join your team, what kind of person would you be looking for?
I think having a real curiosity for design, but it doesn't mean maybe contemporary design. It might be, you know, how an old book was put together and how it becomes old, and what are the details that help tell the audience that it is authentic, even if we're having to fake it. So yeah, attention to detail is really important. And also being very open-minded and patient, because working in film isn't always the glamorous thing that you see at the end result, and there's a lot of changes required often in the process.
I imagine everyone's itching to ask some questions. Katie, we've got some questions.
Yeah, definitely. Bridget's got a question for Mirafora. What did you want to ask?
How did you react when you found out you were going to be the graphic designer for Harry Potter?
I know it seems really strange because you're all young enough to not realise this, but when I was hired to do Harry Potter, we didn't really know what Harry Potter was. There was a whole generation of us, probably my peers here as well tonight, that it wasn't that known in 2000 to my generation of people working. So we kind of came onto the project really thinking that we just do our best for that particular job, like you do on every job. We're all freelancers, so you kind of come in and just try and respond to the story. Just turned out it was a really brilliant one. So, and then the rest is history.
Okay, Naz, what's your question?
What inspired you to design the house crests?
Oh, well, they were something that actually had a lot of information. Sometimes we get a lot of information from the text, from J.K. Rowling's books in terms of description, and other times it's quite spare, which is amazing for you as readers and for us as designers, because she's inviting us to fill that space with our imagination. But in that case, there was a little bit of information that we could, and again, looking, like I said, about research, looking historically how heraldry is designed, and always returning back to original reference material to help you design something.
We've got a question here from Rebecca from Upton Hall School in the Wirral, who says, what do you think is more important in your profession? Is it qualifications or is it on-the-job experience?
On-the-job experience, I think, and that can start at school anyway. So the experiences you're having all the time should feed into that, and you don't necessarily know where your career is going to go anyway. I never knew it would be here, and so it would be wise and prudent to just deal with the next couple of years ahead of you and really get the best out of those, and you'd be surprised how things come back and help you later.
Miafora, thank you so much for sharing that insight. So if you're interested in finding out more about graphic design and other careers in the film industry, BBC Bitesize has some great information on their careers page. And to pique your interest, here are some industry facts just for you.
Did you know? In a recent prospects report on skill shortages in the UK, graphic design was listed amongst the professional level occupations reported by employers with the most vacancies. It was also listed as one of the graduate roles experiencing the highest skills shortage vacancies. A Destination of Leavers from Higher Education survey in 2017 found that 18.1% of design graduates ended up being graphic designers. Now we've got the story, the design of the world that's being created, maybe even the cast of the film lined up. How do we make sure the actors look and feel like they're part of this environment? That's where the costume team comes in. It might be easy to think of costumes as secondary, but they're actually a key part of the storytelling. A costume can tell you a lot about a person, where they are, where they've come from, who they are in society, and even what they've been through. And it's somebody's job to tell that very story.
Indeed it is, and we have one of the best in the business here today to tell us all about it. Please welcome multiple Academy Award and BAFTA-winning costume designer, the incredible Colleen Atwood. Colleen, it is lovely to meet you. Thank you for being here. I know you worked on the Fantastic Beasts films, but you've also worked on things like Alice in Wonderland and Edward Scissorhands as well. How were these films different?
The one great thing about costume design is every time you start a job, it's different from the one you've done before. So in the sense that I was walking into a world that had been created in a sense, there was sort of a past expectation. It was the first time I'd ever done anything like that, like I was walking into a gigantic world of Potter world, even though we were making a new world.
Now, you guys watching at home, I wonder what you thought a costume designer's role involved. Prepare to take some notes, because Colleen's going to tell us right now. Colleen, on the day-to-day, what does a costume designer do?
It appears to be a very glamorous job from the outside, but from the inside, on a day of filming, I arrive at 5:30 or 6 in the morning and start with my team dressing the background, who are the people that are behind the main stars in the movie, that create the world that they live in. And then you go to the trailers where the main actors are and get them ready for the day, and then you go to set where they start filming, and you're there for maybe an hour or two, and then you go back to the department and you start setting up for the next day, which could be totally different group of people. It's new costumes for the principals. So it's a continual kind of movement through the day, and you usually finish at like 7 or 8 at night. So it's quite a long, hard day. It's very It's a very focused job.
Is there a particular personality type? For example, if there was a budding costume designer in our audience today, what kind of person would you be looking for?
A person that can say, take a breath and go, okay, that didn't work. What's going to work best next? Because if you can't have a second idea in the room when it's happening, you'll never kind of be able to deal with the day-to-day of costume design, because you sometimes you start something and the idea you have changes on the script, it changes with the director, or that changes with the actor. So you have to be able to have a certain flexibility and sort of embrace other people's ideas as well as your own.
Someone that can be flexible and stay calm. And we've got a person just like that here with us today. They'll be working with Colleen on the next Fantastic Beasts film. It's Rihanna Charles. Rihanna, thank you so much for joining us. You must have been so excited when you got that call. What kind of thing were you expecting to do on the Fantastic Beasts films?
So my role is principal costume standby, and basically I manage and maintain continuity on set between scenes and story days, and pretty much like Colleen's eyes and her vision that she wants for each costume, I try to carry that through.
Was it always something you wanted to do? Did you always know you wanted to work in costume?
My mum is a self-taught dressmaker, and I was always around fabrics and costumes, shall I say, so I kind of embodied that. But then I actually went down a doctorate kind of route, and I wanted to be a paediatrician. So it's very different. Very, very different.
Well, maybe not.
But yeah, so then I found myself doing a costume degree, and then I worked my way into a traineeship year on Emmerdale and ITV, and then I've just kind of worked in TV and film ever since.
And the rest is history. So this is a question for both of you, actually. So, Rihanna, for you, first of all, what would you say to anyone that thinks that they might want to work in costume?
I would say definitely get yourself out there and get some work experience, because just like what Colleen said, it's not as glamorous as it seems. So the hours are really long, and you need to kind of understand what kind of personality you have. If you can be around certain people, get yourself out there, get some work experience, figure out the hours, if you can have that stamina, and then work from there, really.
And Colleen, for you as well, if someone's at the very start of that, so they're not sure, but they think they might be interested, what advice would you give them?
Well, I always tell people that I think it's really important, even if you don't get a job on a movie or a play or whatever, in the department that you think you want to be in, it's a great opportunity. And if you do a great job in any department that you go and have enthusiasm, don't slack off, don't be on your phone all the time, and focus on the job, then people will notice you.
I've been asking a lot of questions. I'm sure you guys have some questions as well. Katie?
Yes, Shadara, what's your question?
How many copies of the costumes did you have to make?
It depends on the character. For a character like Eddie Redmayne, because he wears the same costume for a really long time in the story and it goes through a lot of things, 10 to 12 costumes. And sometimes you have stunt doubles, photo doubles, so you make them all costumes that match the main guy's costume. And then they get beat up. So sometimes it's up to 20 or 30 costumes, depending on what you're doing.
We've got a question here as well from Hill of Bankery School in Aberdeenshire, and they say, what are the favourite parts of your jobs?
So it's working with the actors. I end up working with the actors and also working with different crew. It's very family kind of unit working in film and TV, because again, like I said, the hours are very long and jobs could be quite long, so you spend your time with these people. So I love that element of it.
Thank you both so much for that insight into the world of costume design. We're really spoiling you here today with all of this talent that we've got for you. And if you're thinking costume design might be the career for you, check out these insightful industry facts.
Did you know? In addition to costume designers, a costume design team can be made up of tailors, dressmakers, cutters, milliners, even a breakdown artist, whose job it is to dye and age costumes to make them look realistic. It's also someone's role to dress the actors on set, The dresser or costume standby's job is to ensure that the quality and continuity of costumes during, before and in between takes stays consistent. Now that the actors are dressed in the most carefully crafted costumes, we're ready to shoot the film. But with fantastic beasts and magical environments so key to the story, how do we make them come to life? People often think of visual effects as something that only happens in post-production, the period after the film has already been shot. But with films like these, where the magic and the beasts are such a huge part of the world you're trying to create, the visual effects team are involved from the very beginning to the very end, advising on everything from positions to lighting to camera angles. Sounds like a complicated process? That's probably because it is, and we've got just the person here to tell us how it all works.
Indeed, we do. He's worked on the Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts film series, as well as everything from Love Actually to The Golden Compass. It's BAFTA and Oscar-nominated visual effects supervisor, Christian Mann. Christian, it's brilliant to have you here with us today. Now, earlier in the show, we asked our audience what they thought someone who worked in visual effects did. Guys, you need to focus now because Christian is going to give us the lowdown. So, Christian, in the Wizarding World films, is there a particular effect that you're especially proud of?
I've always been a fan of the Niffler. I mean, I think being part of creating that character and seeing it breathing life into him, and basically then sitting in the cinema with everybody, listening to them laughing at the stuff that we've created. You know, that's been the enjoyable part of the process for me.
I know within visual effects, there's lots of different jobs, aren't there?
Yes.
So break that down for me. What are some of those jobs?
Well, I mean, we kind of mirror kind of a lot of the jobs, I guess, that you have in physical production. So effectively, from my position, which is kind of like the director in visual effects, to people who are like the costume designer, the people who are designing and painting all of the creatures' skins, people who are rigging, so putting the skeletons and working out how all the creatures move, the animators, who are the actors who make those creatures act. We have people who are building, modelling the creatures, modelling sets, painting the sets, people who are lighting them, and then I was a compositor. That was another job where you're then putting all those finished elements together into the finished photograph plate to make, well, I mean, the visual effects job is that you believe it was shot with the actors and with the set.
It can sound super technical. Is it also really creative? Do you get to let your imagination run wild?
Oh, completely. I mean, I couldn't switch on a computer when I started my job, so I was art trained, so we have lots of people from lots of different fields who've come into visual effects, and often I think the best artists tend to be the ones who have sort of technical flair and creative flair.
And we've got someone joining us here today from your team who's got just those skills. It's Brooke McGowan. Welcome, Brooke. Lovely to see you. So, tell us a bit about your job. How do you make the magic happen?
So I'm a compositor, and we come at the end of the visual effects process. So we'll get the assets from the creature team. So we'll get the creatures, we'll get the set extensions, the environments, any fog, smoke, all that kind of stuff, and obviously the filmed footage as well. And we'll take away the green screen and replace it with all the magic, integrating it so that it looks like it was really filmed in the same place, so the audience can really get into that world.
How did you know, though, that you wanted to work in this field?
When I got to university, my tutor would ask me, why do you want to work in film? What area of film do you want to work in? And her advice was to watch the credits of the films I liked and see what job roles were involved. And it was The Golden Compass that I looked at, and I went through and I saw visual effects because the polar bear scenes I absolutely loved, and I was like, that's what I want to do.
I'm sure you guys have some questions. Katie?
Mirage has got a question. What did you want to ask?
So it's a question for both of you. As I understand it, there are generally two schools of thought as to how you can get into a role like yours. You can either take the really academic, theoretical GCSEs, A-levels degree path, or you can get the more vocational, maybe a BTEC level 3 and a college course and maybe an apprenticeship. Which route do you think makes you better equipped for your role, or which do you think might be more suited to other roles?
That's a good question. I think it depends on what field of visual effects you want to get into. To be honest, I mean, I think a lot of stuff comes from experience. Once you've got that foot in the door and you're working at a visual effects facility, I think then I started making tea. I was a runner, and then I learnt, worked my way up. But I think nowadays, that opportunity to do a higher education course so that you enter at a level where you already have a skill set is a good thing to be able to do, because it leapfrogs you forward a little bit. You still need lots of experience, but at least it gets you that entry level.
Thank you so much, Christian Book, for giving us that insight into the world of visual effects. And if you're back in school thinking, I reckon I could do that, then stay tuned for these little nuggets of industry information.
Did you know? In the Screen Skills Employer Survey in 2019, visual effects employers reported the most difficulty recruiting. Hard to fill roles mentioned by survey respondents included production accountant, FX technical director, pipeline technical director, FX artist, lead digital map painter, and senior Houdini generalist. 2018 findings by the UK Screen Alliance suggest that on average only 27% of the visual effects workforce is female. Well, I'm going to take that up a little bit, because I've decided I want to work in visual effects now.
That's a good idea.
We've come to the end of Making the Magic from Story to Screen, unfortunately, but it's been so brilliant getting to speak to all of these talented individuals here today, so thank you very much. Let's give them another big round of applause, shall we?
Yes, thank you so much to all our amazing guests for joining us, and to all of you here in the studio and at home for watching.
And now that you've heard about the method behind the magic, we hope that you've been inspired to imagine a future where you might be working in creative careers just like these ones.
If you want to find out more about how our Wizarding World experts landed the roles they've shared with us today, plus take a look at some of the many other careers available in the film industry and beyond, visit the BBC Bitesize Careers website, where you'll find lots of useful tips and information to help you plan your future career.
Because you never know, tomorrow you might be the person making the magic.
Goodbye.